to Light, Laughter, and Lattes. My name is Geri Habstritt. I'm an evasive quantum healer, medical intuitive, and transformational teacher. Welcome YouTube, Facebook, and if you're listening via podcast on Spotify or Anchor, I am so glad you're here. Welcome to our first Wednesday in February. We are at the beginning of a Mercury retrograde, so I'm wondering if anyone out there is noticing the effects of Mercury. I've had a little bit of it today. Dreams have been wild for everyone that I've talked to. So we are all being poked and nudged just a little bit to remember who we are and wake up ever more. And anyone who might be listening, join in the chat. It is open. We welcome your comments. Just say hi so we know you're there. If you have any questions, that's great too. And so today I have a guest who is so timely with the energy we are in right now. This year, the year of the Phoenix rising, the Phoenix like rising from the ashes, and it's this female empowered energy rising with the heart open, but yet in her empowerment. And this is something our planet has needed for such a long time. And I'm personally seeing more and more women, and not that the feminine energy just relates to women, it's in both of us, or all of us, men and women, ideally in perfect balance. And it has been out of balance for so long. And now's the time. And I have a guest today. Her name is Pat Alva Kraker. She worked in a primarily male-dominated industry, the IT technology business, for 35 years. And she went through her, let's say, her ashes to her arising. She was let go of. She lost her husband of 22 years. They had an exotic ranch together, an exotic animal ranch together, which they had to shut the doors on. She moved through breast cancer. And through this whole experience, it brought her to a new way of being. And it brought her to a place of elation, which she said is a choice, which I think is so key because we are in the month of choice. So how many of you are choosing elation? And so I would like to welcome Pat.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. Glad you're here.
Geri, it's great to be here. We're going to have some fun and make a difference in our community. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is so timely, your experience with starting out in this male-dominated industry. I know many women had to put on the suit and be a minority in this business and basically leave a lot of their femininity. Mm-hmm. And you say your intuition side of you, kind of behind, and really that's left brain, right brain, right?
Right.
So tell all of us a little bit about that journey for you.
Right. So I hired into the industry where I was surrounded by very few women. And so many times I was the only woman in the room and trying so hard to fit in and assimilate. And in the process, really over time, I started losing myself, losing who I am and all the gifts that I had to bring to the table. And what I experienced is that the companies that I work for really valued the analytical, the data, and that's the part of me that I sharpened and got good at. And slowly, the part of me, the intuitive part of me, just started really not coming out in the forefront like it did in the past. When I grew up, I was very intuitive. I just had this really strong sixth sense. And I grew up with that until I joined corporate and just saw that change in me in order to fit in. And you get to a point where, I got to a point where I'm like, I'm not bringing all of who I am into the business. And I know the part of me that's missing is my strong intuitive self. And just had, really had to sit back and say, how am I going to really do this in a way that works and where I don't lose credibility, right? Because most of the time when you talk to your customers, your executives, management, they really are so tuned into the data and the customer requirements, and that's where you make your decisions. And if you go in with this, I have this gut feel that we really should go down this path, and you don't have the data to support it, you just, you lose all credibility. So how I began to use my sense of intuition is in how I communicate. I just relied on my intuition and sat back and connected. And I asked, how is the best way for me to communicate X? And I started relying on that more and more in the way that I managed my relationships, the way I grew my relationships, the way that I communicated, and just started bringing the feminine and the intuitive self to the table. And it was over time that I began to do that. And so what I do now is I help women who have IT companies who, like me, have been running their business from really one side of who they are. And I bring them in and I say, guess what? We can bring your intuitive side, which you may have put at the back burner, and we're going to bring it back to the front burner, and we're going to integrate your intuition and your analytical side so that you build your business from here, from this place, where there's a nice balance and flow of all of who you are. And we're going to make your business grow from a wholeness, a sense of wholeness. And it's been an interesting journey. I brought everything that I learned from corporate, and I brought the lessons from the adversities that I've had with breast cancer, losing the ranch, and just really learning that in order for me to come out of these adversities, that I needed to learn how to lead myself and really tap in to who I am and come out on the other side a wiser, stronger woman. And I was very curious, and I tried a number of practices, and I began to slowly start developing my own little toolkit. And so I became a better leader. I figured out how to lead myself out of these situations. And I said, I'm going to start practicing what I've learned, not only more and more with myself, but I'm going to offer these as suggestions to my clients and help them lead themselves in a bigger, stronger way. And I learned a lot of lessons along the way, especially with breast cancer, for sure.
I bet. So tell me about, was this over a long period of time where you got let go from, the technology company, and then your husband passed? And did all this happen over a course of several years, or was it
Yes.
kind of all at once?
No, it happened over the course of several years.
Okay.
So yeah, my journey, I was in my 40s, mid 40s, when I discovered that I had cancer, and then that moved into being laid off, and then into my husband passing. And along the way, really, the breast cancer experience really taught me how disconnected I was. When you study Louise Hayes, you're probably familiar with Louise, and you look at what are the connections, the spiritual, emotional connections with breast cancer. It's about overgiving and not putting yourself on the top of the list. So lack of self-care. And it was true for me. I absolutely, as the oldest of 5, I overgave, stepped in, took care of my sisters and my brother, gave into the community, gave to my husband's family, the business. And I was the last one on the list. And it was like a 2x4 right in the forehead, where the universe said, we need to take a time out here and evaluate, what's happening in your life. Mm-hmm. And I did. I stepped back and I said, this is, I've lost myself in the process. And I just started to connect with myself and my body and made a decision that I was going to learn how to heal myself, and whatever I needed to learn to make that happen, I was going to jump into that process, that study 100%. And then I started becoming more and more connected and more spiritual. And it helped me get past through a lot of adversities. And every adversity, the loss of my husband, the loss of the ranch, I learned more and more. And I eventually ended up collecting 31 soulful practices, which was my original book. And from those practices, I started working with my clients. So I've been working on myself since way back then, for 25 years or more. And I have this, I got an interesting question, and they said, when did you become awake? And I think that's a very interesting question to be asked, that when did you become awake? And I started, I made a move from El Paso to Dallas. And I went into this cocoon of very spiritual women who were there to guide me, help me grow, provide me resources in a way that I never imagined. And now that I look back at those years, it was meant to be. It was really meant to be led and have all the teachers come in within a small time frame and within a department of women, and started developing that sense of connection and growing my intuitive self a little more and more, deepening that. And that really kind of led me to a place where I could better handle the adversities.
Well, I think you brought up something really, really powerful about the piece of doing for everyone else. All the women I know, that's just what you do. It's almost expected in this society, especially if you're a stay-home mom, that everyone comes first. I know that's how it was with me. And to even think about putting yourself first is selfish, right?
Right.
And no, it's self-full. And
Yes.
as you heal yourself, your family automatically heals. So the most empowering thing you can do is put yourself first and be the energy of that, as opposed to being the energy of denying yourself, so that that's what you're sending out. I'm denying me, I'm second, and then that shows up as a mirror in the universe in many ways. Oh, okay, here's another experience of you being denied. Here's another experience of you getting to be second because that's what you say you are. And our children are really good at being mirrors and showing us how we need. I had a daughter that was brilliant at teaching me how I needed to put myself first. And so that's so important. In years back, it was the mom that stayed home, all the time. And then she went out into the workforce, and it was primarily men, and trying to find her place within that. And now we're at a time where it's a great mix, but I haven't been in the workforce for many, many years. So I don't know if intuition's more highly accepted as a way of being or not. Is it? Yeah.
I would say yes. Yeah, I would say yes. There's there's training. There's different type of executive training and company training that is coming into play, that is starting to really teach how valuable it is to trust yourself and your sense of intuition.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is growing. It is changing.
Good. Because in order to even basically use your intuition, you have to trust, because it comes in so quickly that it's so easy to deny that you don't have it, because if you're not trusting yourself, you'll miss it. and you won't even know. And then your mind will come in and second guess and talk you out of it and go into the reasoning. And, so trust is extremely important.
Yes, it is. I do agree with you that we were raised in a culture. I was raised in a culture where my mom did everything for us and my grandmother did everything for us. And I saw all my aunts behave the same way. And I'm like, I need to stop this pattern.
Mm-hmm.
I need to break this cycle because it's not a healthy cycle. And I didn't want my sisters and my nieces to grow up feeling that that's how they had to live their life.
Yeah, yeah. And they do. They follow our energy as opposed to our words. So our words really mean absolutely nothing. We can say you need to do this all you want, but until we, the example, are doing it and carry the energy of it, it's meaningless.
Mm-hmm. It is so true.
So somewhere along the line, you decided that elation was a choice. So where was it, the breast cancer that said, okay, enough of all of this, I choose elation? Mm-hmm. Was that it?
What I learned, I would definitely agree with that. What I learned is that I was always that choice. I was just making decisions that really weren't in my best interest. So when I learned that I had breast cancer, I knew that this was a mind, body, and soul healing, and that I needed to make different choices, and that I had the power to do that. Because if I didn't do that, I was bound to repeat the lesson. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to repeat the lesson. I said, I got to figure this out now. I got to figure it out. I have to make some changes. I'm a choice. And so how am I going to pivot? How am I going to pivot? So that was a very important time in my life to teach me that I'm always a choice and that I have the option to be happy or stressed out or sad or whatever that is. So elation is beyond happiness. So I can have that. I can have that every day.
So what happened after you chose elation?
I became more aware. I became more aware of myself, and I became an observer of my life. And in that observation, I learned that I was making specific choices that really weren't supporting what was in my highest good. It's like I would put myself on the edge, on the top of the room, looking down at myself and just watching what I was doing, mm-hmm. and just being very mindful, mm-hmm. and being, and then journaling everything that I was learning. And it's through the journaling and being observant of my life that I started to notice, why is it that this day was so good? Why is it that this day wasn't as good? And I started connecting the dots. And I learned that I'm a choice. And at any point in time, if I stay fully present, then that's where my power is. Mm-hmm. That's when I'm fully present, that's where I hear the messages. That's where I feel my intuition speaks to me, and I can actually hear and feel what she's trying to tell me. So I just became more and more in tune with that. And a lot of women don't feel like they're a choice.
Right. Well, and we'll constantly spin laterally, having similar experiences over and over again with different people and a bit different background, until we make a choice. Mm-hmm. When we say enough of whatever the pattern is,
right.
And then all we have to do is call in the new choice, and then the energy will go in that direction. And then you start to spiral upward, or not. You can get to a new plateau and spin right here too and stop. We constantly have choices to keep saying yes to a new and different. I don't want to say better because that would be a judgment, but mm-hmm. Keep saying yes to our more authentic self. And awareness is the key. You hit such a key message with being aware, being able to lift yourself up out of the experience and detach yourself from it and be the observer of what you're doing. And from that vantage point, you have so much more clarity.
Yeah, you do.
And you can make better choices. It's really hard when you're amidst the drama to make it. Well, I guess you do have a choice of, this is horrible, this is enough, I don't want to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to lift up and say, okay, now how can I do this differently?
Exactly. How can I do it differently? And I believe that in that sense of awareness and being fully present, it enables you to respond to life versus react.
Right.
And for me, responding to life means that something happens in your day out of your control, and you take a step back, take a deep breath, you connect with your intuition, and you ask, what is the next best step here?
Mm-hmm.
And then you do that. That's
Right.
responding. That's responding to life.
Right. No, that's important, because there's a lot of reaction going on in the outer world. And with the energy so intense, it's easy to react, especially with so much polarity on things that, really, if you really engaged in the outer world, you could pick a side very quickly, because there's some things like, well, how could this even be possible that we're living in a world that's, even talking about or doing some of these things. And so it's key right now to be able to do that, to be able to stop and respond, or to stop and lift
Yeah.
from a higher state, and then approach it from there. So somewhere along the line, a book came out of all of this experience. So it was after the breast cancer, right? You said, enough, I choose Elation. And then what brought the book forth? Were you got insights on Elation, you took other steps to move into Elation? How did that work?
I have always wanted to write a book. It was on my bucket list, and I just didn't know where to begin.
Okay.
So as I went through my challenges, I was just very mindful of what was working for me, and I started documenting all these practices. And when I first wrote the book, it was 31 soulful practices for women entrepreneurs. And then when I started working with my publisher, he said, you have 3 books in this one book. And he says, what I encourage you to do is to just take your best practices, and I want you to wrap them around a story. And that's how Katherine's Quest was born. That's how she was born. And one of the things about the book, Geri, I've been writing the book for 6 years, and it transformed, the title transformed, the format transformed, the covers transformed, all of that. I really believe that when someone decides to go down this journey of writing a book, it is a journey of self-discovery. No, there's no doubt about that. And you're writing about the things that you most need to learn. And one of the lessons that I learned in spades is that the book has its own energy, and it knows when it wants to be born. It knows when it wants to come out into the world. And my personality is that one of being impatient. And so I wanted to get the book out. I mean, 6 years, I was really impatient. But I felt like I was pushing the string. And in pushing the string to get this book done, it was difficult and frustrating. And many times I just said, I just don't want to do it anymore. I want to give up on it. I'll put it on the shelf. And then I wouldn't write for months. And then there'd be this whisper, this feeling inside of me, you need to start working on the book. So I knew that that the impact that all the practices had, that I had tried and and practice had such an amazing impact. And then I shared them with my clients, and then they were experiencing some amazing transformations. And I said, I need to get this out to more women, to a bigger platform. And that's when I said, okay, we're going to get this done. I'm going to allow it to flow. I'm going to be patient, and I'm just going to, give the book the energy, and I'm just going to let it flow, and I'll just, ride that wave. And then finally, it was born September of last year.
Well, I have to add, because I'm an ascended numerologist, so you had 31 practices. That's a 4, and that is the number of perfect balance in ascended numerology. So your whole experience about bringing the left brain and right brain, right, the intuitive with the analytical side, right, that would be a perfect balance, as is the feminine energy in the masculine world, right?
Yeah.
Seeking to find your perfect balance. So you hit it with 31 practices, perfect balance. And then number 6 is about rebirth. So it took you that long, right, to really rebirth yourself. So that's it was a process you went through in birthing this book.
Oh, that's interesting. I love that. That's
Yeah,
an
it's so
awareness.
fun. The numbers they always tell the higher story, right, of the ascended story of what's really going on. We think it's right here, but when you read the numbers, you're like, oh, it was really about this.
Yes, and it really makes a lot of sense, because I'm a totally different person than when I was, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 3 years ago. I'm just a different person. And I just became consistent about practicing everything that I learned, and expanded on it, and started to rely more on source to guide me. I don't have to figure this out. We always feel like we have to figure it all out. And I'm like, why am I struggling with that? I'm just going to ask source. You tell me what I'm supposed to do in this situation. And it really, it just lets everything go. You're more at peace. And then when something doesn't work out, I just say, oh, source has something else in mind. I'm curious to see what that is. So it's just a sense of allowing, and things don't, affect me anymore.
So tell me, why is it Catherine's quest and not Pat's quest?
I know. And everybody says, you're Katherine. I go, yes, I am Katherine.
Are you Katherine? Is that your real name?
No, my real name is Pat. But in the whole marketing aspect of it, Katherine was the name that really resonated with with my team. And yes, Katherine experienced a lot of things that I did, and it just really is an interesting story about a woman who loses everything, right? She loses her marriage, her business falls apart, she has to leave her home, and she's hopeless. And somehow she has to pick herself up by the bootstraps and get through these adversities in a way where she's a stronger, happier woman. And in the process of packing, she finds this trunk. And it's in the attic, and she opens it up, and she pulls out this beautiful journal that belonged to her Uncle Iman. And she starts reading it. And her Uncle Iman was on his journey to elation. And the way he was approaching it is that he was going to 7 islands that all had values of what it takes to be elated. And the people who lived in those islands amplified those values, those beliefs, those habits. And he starts going from island to island, and starts really a rebirth and a connection with himself. And he learns how to lead himself. And so does Katherine at the end.
Oh, it sounds wonderful.
And in there are Pat's musings.
Okay.
So as you go through each chapter, there's a chapter that just focuses on self-care. And I'll have very deep questions that I want the women who read it to answer. I give them exercises, and I share my stories, and I invite them to connect with themselves and ask themselves those questions, deep questions about even their own self-care, how they're living their days, so that through the book they transform. So I do have my practices built in throughout the entire book. And it comes with a journal, and it comes with affirmation cards. And so it just really just further allows them to take in the practices that will make a significant difference in their life, that remind them that they're a choice, and that beyond happiness is a way of living a life every day. And it's just a choice.
So tell me, so you work a lot because you have your own business now. You help women transition from their, from their male-dominated world to their more feminine aspects, right? What are you seeing with women? Is there an across the board thing that you're kind of seeing similar with all women, what they're going through right now or what their challenge is?
Yes. Women have had to take a moment to pause and then pivot in their business. So what was normal, it was a normal way of making their business work and being in revenue, etc., came to a halt, and they were asked. Their business was asking them, "We need to do business differently," and a lot of that is creating a strong online presence. Many of them did not have a strong online presence. And so now they had to enter that world. And what was also being asked is that they become truly authentic in the way that they communicate with their clients and really step into the connection through social media of who they really are and sharing what's happening behind the scenes and show how real you are and how your business really works. We all want to know that. In the past, we would offload that to a marketing company, and they would do all the marketing, all the writing of the blogs and blah, blah, blah. And what's being asked now is, we want to see the real you. We want to see the real authentic you. And so I'm seeing that shift of women becoming more vulnerable and sharing more of who they are and their business and how they run it.
So who is wanting to see the more authentic person? Who's that? Who's asking for that? People,
their clients.
or their clients?
Their
so
clients.
I'm loving this because there's another real polarity right now, because there's so much mistruth, especially in the media, right? And I think maybe that's calling forward people saying, I've had so much, we're done with this. We want authenticity, which is the opposite of what, is fake news, inauthenticity, right? So we're seeing the exact opposites playing out at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I think the other thing that's that we've been aware of is that we're all making the transition. Mother Earth is making a transition, and when we were forced to take a pause, we learned how do I say this? So many people were staying at home now that the skies started clearing. And you were able to see blue skies, and people were commenting, I'm seeing more birds. I'm seeing more animals around me. And there was this realization of the call to nature and how we had taken it for granted. And it wasn't until we took that pause that we gave Mother Earth an opportunity to heal. And in that, we saw what we had and how we were taking it for granted, and how we now are becoming more conscious about the environment. And the way that's showing up is that customers want to know that you're environmentally friendly. How are you putting your products on? Are you using plastics that can only be used one time? What are you doing with carbon emissions? So we now have a better appreciation, and we're asking everyone around us to really be more mindful and take care of our environment, because this is all we have. And we saw what the difference was a year and a half ago to what we've been experiencing today.
Well, I'm so pleased to hear that the people are calling that forward, that they care now about the environment, and that they're wanting authenticity, that the clients are asking for these things. I'm not in that world anymore. And so it's great to hear that's what's being asked of people. What else do you see as being asked of people in the business world that's different than how things used to be?
So definitely an online presence. And, the other trend is, so it's online presence that's taking care of the environment. And because we are more at home, and women are opening businesses more than they ever have, is that the communications and the way we communicate who we are, what our products are, have to be mobile friendly. They have to be mobile friendly. So if your entire team is working from home, you've got to be able to find a way to have everybody still be connected. Because in the past, you would go to the water cooler, or you would go, let's go to the cafeteria, or let's go to the cafe and pick up a coffee. Let's go to lunch together. Well, that's gone. And so many people had a lot of needs met when they would go into the office. And that has to be replaced some way. So entrepreneurs have to find ways to make the connection, replace that connection within their team, so they still feel bonded. They still feel that they're in touch with each other, that, where the communication is still there, alive and present. And whatever support the team members need is that readily available by employers. So the mobile phone is really key for communications. The apps that allow people to connect easily and effortlessly on projects has become instrumental. People who are looking for jobs on their phone. They're not going to websites and applying for jobs. So if you're hiring and your process to get applications from people isn't mobile friendly, you're missing out on skilled professionals. You're missing out on that because people are doing everything from their phone. So that's another business trend that is, one for 2021 that I'm helping my clients look at. What changes do you need to make from the IT perspective? What new tools need to be done? How are you going to retrain your workforce to deal with the new requirements that you may have received? So there's a lot changing in the business, and in health-wise too. Immune, you probably have a lot of business because everybody's wanting to build their immune system and be healthier. And what's it going to take, to be proactive in taking care of my health? So that's another trend that I've been seeing. What have you been seeing from health? Because that's one of your specialties.
Yeah, lots of trauma. There's lots of trauma through all this. Well, actually, not even just through all this. I'm finding just a lot of people who have gone through a lot of trauma and now are saying, okay, I need some help getting through this. It's affecting, I'm now creating my future based on my trauma, and I see it as a pattern. So help me release this trauma. And so I think I saw 5 clients last week just on releasing trauma. And
Wow.
so there seems to be a lot of that, a lot of sexual abuse that
Yes.
is, I didn't realize that it was such a big thing. I was never around it, and then I saw it anywhere in my circles with my friends or anything. Not that it wasn't there, it was probably hidden, because it appears that most of it is. And so a lot of, people who live on really nice streets and had a really great life and went to a really good school and appeared to have it all going on, hit it well until now, not just necessarily now, but I'm seeing a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I think, pardon me?
A lot of healing.
A lot of healing. It is a time.
Yes.
Really a year. This is going to be, well, every year, but this is going to be a big year of heart healing for everybody.
Yeah. I agree. And just really taking responsibility. And I think a key tool to that is meditating. That's one of the things that I talk about in my book is go within, be still, and hear what source, higher self, Buddha, whatever that is for you, is to take that moment. And I agree that being still and taking that time in space, in a quiet space in your home, is important. And I also feel that there is something to be said about a walking meditation, where you just go outside and take a long walk by yourself, no music, just connecting, opening all of your senses, and just taking that walk in that stillness and enjoying everything that's around you, because answers will come to you in that still and quiet moment.
That's almost always where I get my answers, is when I go for a walk in nature. There is something about being in the energy of the trees and the water and the land, and just being present with it. I'm never with anyone walking, so I'm always, possibly my dog, but that's about it. She doesn't say much, so.
No, I think it's a very powerful tool. And, it's all about, for me, it's all about learning how to lead yourself and knowing that you can get through any situation. One of the other tools that I have, Geri, that's really powerful is called unraveling. And unraveling is something that I recommend to all my clients. I ask them to get a journal at the end of their day is to just play back their day, either from the start of their day to the end, or from the end to the beginning of their day. And I want you to be the observer of your day. And I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. What went well in my day and why? What didn't go so well and why? And what will I do differently? And in that process, as they go through it, I said, I want you to note everything that's coming to you as you see that film, that movie playback, and become an observer and start noticing and connecting the dots for yourself, so that the habits and the decisions that you're making that are resulting in the life that you desire, that you continue to do those. And those moments that didn't go as well, that you ask yourself, what happened? What was different about this meeting? What was different about this conversation that ended up in this result? I truly believe that we are our best teachers. And one of the ways that you teach yourself is to be able to go back and watch yourself and then document on a regular basis, and then just keep implementing what you learn, keep doing those good habits that you figure out are working for you, and then make the tweaks so that you keep learning from yourself, and that your life you just end up stepping into your ideal life more and more.
Yeah, well, what you're doing is you're teaching people to cultivate themselves with awareness, to be the observer of
Absolutely.
your day. And when you do that, then you finally see, oh my gosh, I'm the creator of my life experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Nothing happened by accident. I created all this. Okay, now that I'm aware of this, how can I create it to go in the direction that I would like it to go?
Exactly. It's a transformation. It's a total transformation. And it is just really just being fully present and then trusting what you figure out, trusting what you learn, and trusting yourself to move, in a certain path. Okay, I'm going to, make a pivot here, and just trust the process as you start observing and learning more about yourself, and just be true to yourself. Because when you're true to yourself, you're going to be a happier person. Now you're on your way to elation, and it's a choice. Truly a choice.
Absolutely. Trust, the word trust again, it's such a big word, and we could take lifetimes trying to learn how to trust ourselves.
And trust the process. I have to say, Geri, that's probably one of my lessons is to trust the process. Trust the process of life. I have a lot of deck of cards. I love cards. I pick one every morning and I read what the message is. And trust the process is one that comes up over and over for me. So I said, I know that's what I'm here to learn, is to trust the process. And I do that by also teaching others to trust the process.
Right. Yeah, because it's not, and I find that's what I judge myself the most on, is my process. It's not necessarily things. It's like, oh, I should have done that, if I could have done that, or if I would have done that, or wanting to manage it or control it. And that's the left brain side of us that wants to manage things and control things.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To just do our best and trust.
Yes.
So you mentioned in your book that it has helped women in unexpected ways. So what are those unexpected ways?
They didn't. There's a couple. I'm just trying to figure out which is because I'm looking at the time here. Connecting the dots for themselves. Connecting the dots for themselves. So the unraveling does exactly that. It helps them connect the dots for themselves. And that's really important, to be able to see that, to be able to see how the dots align and what the message is, and seeing all the dots as they connect and how they move you forward. And journaling is one of the other tools that I talk about, and I ask them to journal. And a lot of transformation occurs during the journaling process, especially if they've never journaled. One of the things that I hear is that I really like journaling. I really like being able to put my feelings out on paper. I never used to do that. I never used to write anything. It was not part of my process. Mm-hmm. So when I started asking them to journal, and I gave them questions on how to start, they said, wow, I feel such a relief when I do that. Mm-hmm. I'm like,
no, it's perfect. An indisposable tool, and it's free. Well, kind of free. You need a pen and paper, but that's close to free.
Yeah, it's close to free.
Cheaper than a counselor. And you can be your own counselor of yourself once you start to do it.
And that's another way of connecting the dots and seeing yourself and observing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of journaling, and I often give that as assignments to people. So I've got stacks of them. I just need to figure out what to do with them. I might have to have a kind of a journal burning someday or something.
Right. And the other thing is that they experience a greater sense of inner peace.
Sure.
You go through all through the process and you practice what's in the book, you will experience that inner peace. And that's one of the things that comes out of, just really connecting with yourself and doing the exercises. Like, I have more peace, Pat. I have more peace in my life.
So explain with your business now. So you moved out of the information technology And now you're running your own business, right? Helping women basically go through the transition that you went through.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting mainly women?
Yes, I love working with women. I really
Okay.
do. In my corporate life, I was in male dominated, and I saw very few women around me, and I saw very few women in executive roles. And I said, what can I do to change this? And so when I ran into women who were ambitious and they wanted to move up, I started helping them. And I wanted to see women have a seat at the table. I don't care if it's a corporate table or it's at the table where you're getting contracts from government, but you're sitting at the table, you're asking for what you want, and you're getting what you want, and you're making an impact on the world. I want you to have that seat, and I will help you get that seat, and I will help you thrive in that seat. So I'm really passionate about that, about helping them be successful and really step into their power using all the talents and gifts that they were given. Because so many times in corporate, when you go, you're really good at something, they put you in this little box. Mm-hmm. And you know you're more than that, but they don't give you an opportunity to bring all of who you are. They just kind of put you in the box. I felt that. After a while, I said, you know what, I have more to give. I've got all these talents. I work on myself all the time, and yet I don't have an opportunity to really showcase that and really make a bigger impact. And that after a while, that causes frustration. And then you say, you know, it's time for me to leave and really bring all of who I am in another way. There's different ways to do it. You just have to give yourself permission to do it.
Yep. There's a gift in that box they put you in.
Yeah.
You know, they put you in there long enough for you to realize that I don't like the box.
I don't like the box anymore. And so a conversation that I have with my clients is, yes, so what other things are you really, really good at that you're not bringing out in your business? Where is your passion? What's that one thing that you used to do when you were a kid that you're not bringing into your business? And we go back and I said, tell me what you did. And what was your favorite game when you were young? So how can we bring that into what you're doing today? What was that fun and passion that you had that it's not showing up in your business now? And it's time. It's time.
It sounds like you and I are kind of doing the same thing, but on like a different playing ground or whatever. Mm-hmm. I do the same thing. I'll send people, I have them get little index cards and put one joy or passion they have on each card. And then every day they pick it and they have to do one.
I love it.
To get people back into the pattern of joy, as opposed to what I should be doing or what I need to do or taking care of other people, you know, so
yep.
So important to constantly be doing, you know, daily something that we love.
Yes, I totally agree. We're happier that way. And our, you know, those passions are associated with talents and gifts that nobody else has. So it's important that they share all of who they are, all the things that they love, all their gifts, because we're waiting for them. The world is waiting for them to bring those forward.
So we have like just a couple of minutes left. Is there anything that you would really like to share about your book, or that you want any of the women, especially, and men? Yeah,
this is a good book. This is a good book. From, you know, my website is majesticcoachinggroup.com, and you can get chapter 1 for free. You can download chapter 1 for free, and you're going to fall in love with Katherine, and you're going to want the book. So you can come back to the website and you can buy the book. You can buy the journal that goes with it and the cards that go with it. And it'll be an experience for you to have the whole set to take you through an amazing journey towards the place where you know that you can always be happy and be beyond happiness, which is elation. And if you're doing the work, you buy the book, and you want help on any part of the book, any part of the practices, you can schedule time with me by going to the website, Majestic Coaching Group, and scheduling a 30-minute strategic session all around the book and something that you would like more help on. So I'm offering this as a gift to your audience.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
Yes.
So I hope someone takes you up on that.
I do. Come on down.
Did you make your cards? Like a card that you pick every day?
I made these.
Okay, so let's do something fun. I want you to pick, I'm going to grab my cards of clarity. I want you to pick one card out of your deck. I'm going to pick one card out of my deck, and we'll see what we have.
Okay.
All right. Watch it be the same card, but not the same card, but the same story, but different cards.
Mine just popped out of my deck, so I'm going to pick this one.
Okay, you read yours first.
Intention is the key to my sacred journey.
Intention is the key to my sacred journey?
Yes.
Okay.
Living life through intention is very, very important.
Okay, so I pulled Universal Rainbow. It's an Ascended Master. And I'm going to read it because it's so close to what you said. Okay, Universal Rainbow. Okay, you are the miracle. As you've been seeking the manifestation of miracles in your life, it is time to claim the miracle that is in front of you now. You. Each morning when you arise, you are the experience of the miracle of this planet, this life, this experience of love. Start each day celebrating this truth. Expand this morning recognition into each experience of the day and breathe in the allowing energy that wishes to manifest miracles in all ways throughout your interactions. It is now the time for you to claim the truth without reluctance in any form. This is the moment you have been waiting for. Let the miracle manifest in you, through you, and as you.
It perfectly aligns with the book because it talks about allowing, living through intention, trusting.
I find when I pick this card that I've just manifested something. So everyone listening, watch now after this show to see what shows up that you've manifested, because it happens to me every time I pull this. So
I love it. I love it. I so appreciate you, Geri. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. This was fun. So I hope you have lots of people checking out your book. I love the name Katherine's Quest. That sounds like an adventure that I'd want to go on. I love quests.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for listening. And Elizabeth, thanks for writing in. Kim, I'm so glad you messaged in the chat. It's fun to see your messages. And everyone have a fabulous week. Goodbye.